And let's go ahead and start. I'm going to start laying down, but start with your blanket or your towel. My glasses. And fold it to be fairly narrow. And then we're going to take it and roll it just a little bit. About a couple inches, doesn't have to be too fat, but you can explore with that. And I'll take the long end out the end of my mat. And then I'm going to lay on the blanket with that roll right under my armpit. And you might notice some sensation if you've been at a desk. You might notice that, oh, my spine has been bending the other way all week long. This feels kind of good. So have your knees bent, feet on the floor. If you like, you can practice with having your legs out, but if it adds any tension to the low back, go ahead and put your feet back on the floor. And your arms can be anywhere, down, up, out, wide, narrow, wherever they're comfortable. Take a couple breaths and just allow yourself to settle. Feel the skin on your breastbone, on your sternum. Feel it just sliding, spreading apart. And feel any sensation in that spine and allowing it to just go in the opposite direction that it may have been bending all week long. As we lean forward to drive, as we sit at our desk. Just feel it spreading open. And if it's not comfortable, feel free to make adjustments in the roll. You make it smaller or larger. And now, come on up on your elbows, put your hands down, push yourself up, and move that roll down just an inch or two, not very much, just an inch or two. So it's going to come down more the upper middle of your back, not your low back, but the upper middle. So it's just like an inch or two south of where it was. Same thing with your legs, wherever they were before, wherever that works. Go ahead and put them right back there. Close your eyes. Let your attention come to the sensation of the spine. Notice that real granular difference of when the roll was up a little bit higher, and what's it feel like now? And maybe any freedom or tension or just whatever it is that you feel without even giving it words. The spine being in the opposite bend that it may have been in all week. At this time of year, when we practice Cheshbon HaNefesh, that spiritual accounting, we bring our attention very granularly, very, very focused on small changes, small changes. Just bring your attention to any small changes in the spine, just allowing, not forcing, just allowing your body and gravity at work. And then once again, press your elbows down, press your forearms down, put your hands down, press yourself up, roll the blanket out of the way. and lay back down. And take your right ankle across the left thigh and just pick your left foot up and begin to just go as far until you begin to feel sensation in that right hip. Just the very beginnings, nothing harsh, nothing dramatic. You can flex your right foot. You can practice moving that leg up and back a little bit, up and back. And if you like, you can reach your hands through and behind that left thigh. You can pull it in a little bit closer if you like. And then release the upper body back down to the ground. Take your right arm out, reach around, grab the outside of the knee, pull the knee a little bit towards you. Have your hand pulling in and your knee pushing the hand away. So have that hand and the forearm pulling towards you and the knee pushing the hand away. Ah, there's some sensation. And release. Place the foot on the floor. Place the right foot on the floor. Bring your left knee in towards your chest. Left ankle across the right thigh. And now just pick up the right leg just until you begin to feel sensation. There it is. And you can move the leg away, make the sensation less, and bring it back in. Just move it a little bit, very tiny micro movements. Now take your left hand through and behind the right leg, right hand behind the right leg. And you can pull that in towards you just a little bit, any amount. And then release the upper body back down to the ground. Now take your left hand out and around the left knee. And once again, your hand is going to be pulling in just very gently towards you. And at the same time, that left knee is going to press against the hand. So a hand is pulling the knee towards your head, and the knee is pushing the hand away. Contact. I feel some sensation. And release it. Place the foot on the floor, other foot on the floor. Roll over to your right side. Push yourself up to a seated position. And go ahead and find any resting pose for yourself. You can sit cross-legged, or actually you can go ahead and lay back down. I want to share a little teaching with you, Torah, for our yoga practice. And as we go on, let me remind you, just as Lizzie always does, that this is your practice, your practice. I will be a tour guide and hopefully share things that are useful for you, but it is totally your practice. So as you pay attention to what your body needs, you have full permission to make adjustments, to take a break, to rest in child's pose or just in a shavasana, laying down on the ground. It's your practice. So I want to share some teaching for this week, and if you are registered and taking part in the Shofar project with JS, you will have gotten this in your inbox yesterday. And if you are not registered, I believe Jet will put that link in the chat, which you can look at later. We'll make sure that it's available afterwards, after the end of class. And so I'm quoting from this chapter of Rabbi Alan Liu's book, Rabbi Alan Liu of Blessed Memory, his book, This is Real and You Are Totally Unprepared, his book about the high holiday season. And he writes this at this point. A mindful awareness of our circumstances often makes things seem worse. Great. Often makes things seem worse and not better. So when we pay close attention, maybe what we notice first is that, wow, this is not what I expected. He continues, this is an illusion, of course, but it doesn't feel like one, especially when we're in the first throes of discovery. Suddenly aware of problems we never knew we had, we may genuinely feel that we are much worse off than we thought we were. We may feel a sense of urgency, even desperation about our plight. This urgent, desperate sense is the emotional basis for slichot. The week of urgent, desperate prayer that commences approximately 3 weeks into the process of daily contemplation. We began with the blowing of the shofar on the very first day of Elul. We are actually 11 days into Elul right now. And the Ashkenazic tradition is looking towards Slichot coming in the week before Rosh Hashanah. In the Sephardic tradition, however, the Sephardic tradition engages in Slichot each day of Elul. There's a whole service and a lot of gorgeous music of Slichot each day in Elul. So we spend this time reflecting on our lives, checking in to see if we have become what we meant to, remembering who we are meant to be, trying to see as clearly as we can manage, as Rabbi Miriam Klotz said last week, so we see through the eyes of the heart. What do we see? What do we look for with the eyes of the heart? Are there gaps between what I intended and how it actually is? Gaps between what I imagined in my head and what has come to pass, what is real in this moment? So with the eyes of the heart, in our life and in this practice, we look with chesed, with loving kindness, and with emet, with truth, clear-eyed truth, to the best of our ability. So what helps make this cheshbon hanefesh, this spiritual accounting, real? Well, it says, Rabbi Lu said, a sense that the time is approaching, even that in some way time is running out, that the moment will soon be here. And second, it's real because we're doing it together. Each one of you did all the things necessary to be here right now. It's like gathering the family together to have a big family meeting, like something needs to be, we need to address this. Somehow that makes it real in a new way. So echoing from Rabbi Lu and also from Kohenet Kashira Halev Fife, who will be teaching Shofar Project in a Zoom call tomorrow night, and who shared her teaching in the email yesterday. This is the process of Slichot. First, we come together, ba'agudat achat, a single spiritual unity. We heal one another by coming together. We give each other hope. 2, then we make confessions. Confessions? I like to think of it as we open our hearts to what is true. After seeing that gap between the stories in my head and reality, when I recognize the distance that is there, even with my best efforts, that's the recognition that Rabbi Lu says is a moment of heartbreak, where I allow all pretense to crumble and allow that to soften, and as Kohenet Kashira says, to tenderize the heart. And then third, then is the opportunity through ritual, through practice for intimacy with reality, for intimacy with awareness, for intimacy with the divine. So this morning, remember, this is your practice. I'm just the guide, but it is totally your practice. You do what you need and take care of yourself. And this morning, we have that opportunity to come together and we practice as if we are ba'agudat achat, a single spiritual unit. Jet, I wonder if you can switch us to gallery view for just a second. Oh, maybe we are. Maybe we are. And all of you from your mat, if you can see your screen, just take a quick look and know that others are here. Feel that sense in your body that we're not alone in our rooms, that others are here. We have all come together to practice together, to heal one another. Thank you so much, Jet. And then we go from our group as a single spiritual entity to this body. We notice the parts of our body. In yoga, we're invited to come to know each part very, very granularly, to feel the foot pushing into the floor, the bend of the knee, tipping of the pelvis, the movement of shoulder blades, the lengthening of neck, the relaxation of the jaw. We bring awareness to the parts and then find strength in using them together as a single unit. We get to move beyond the false idea that the mind is somehow a puppet master of all the parts. And instead, we attend to the wisdom that resides in each part, in the thigh and the knee, in all the parts working together as a single unit. As Kashira wrote this week, inspired by Rabbi Lu, giving ourselves to these tasks, including our practice together here today, giving ourselves to these tasks moves our hearts to be tenderized. And if we can stay present and deepen into the work, our hearts will be strengthened in turn. So we're going to be working on yoga that is engaging, that is strengthening and softening, because we'll be engaging strength in a stretched position, softened and strengthened. If you were here last week, you'll recognize some of these, and it gives you an opportunity to work with it again. So go ahead and find yourself in an upright, seated position, cross-legged. Now, I know for some, that bend in the knee may be challenging. So it is most efficient to do this with your knees bent and having the thighs coming straight out from the hips. But if your knees won't accommodate that, you can move your feet farther away from the body and change that bend in the knee. See how that's like for you. So sitting up straight with the legs in, nice and tucked in tight, or slid out a little bit, I invite you to just lean forward for just a slight passive stretch, pressing your hips down into the ground and feeling some sensation in the hips. Take your fingertips on the ground and lean back and forth, just back and forth, very lightly. And now from whichever position you're in with the angle of your knees, I invite you to, I'm going to bring mine back in. I'm going to invite you to take your forearms. Well, first pick your knees up, slip your forearms underneath the knees, and you can put your fingertips on the floor. And the forearms are pulling your knees toward you, and the knees are going to push the forearms away. And feel that engagement. So as we push the knees away, we're stretching the back of the hip and thigh. And as we're pulling the knees toward us, we're engaging in strength, a strengthening exercise. Strength in a stretched position. And bring your hands down, let the knees go, maybe move them a little bit. And let's try that one more time. Take your forearms underneath, pull the knees up, put your fingertips on the floor, and press the knees away even as the forearms are pulling the knees toward you. Pressing your hips down and back. And release. Take your hands behind you. You can just lean back. You can lean back and do a half boat. You can lean back and do a full boat. And switch the cross. So your other leg, whichever your other leg is in front. Now, it might be different. The angle of your knee that may be well accommodated may be different here. You might be able to have your knees in closer, or they may need to be farther. Your feet may need to be farther away. So make that adjustment, that exploration. And with your fingertips on the ground, just walk your fingertips forward and get that first sensation, and take the upper body back and forth, sending the hips back into the ground. And then we'll bring the knees up, bring the forearms underneath, pulling the knees toward you, and then having the knees pulling with the forearms, pushing with the knees, pressing the hips down and back. Strength in a stretched position. And release it. Move your knees and try it again. Forearms underneath, forearms pulling the knees toward you, knees pushing away, hips pushing down and back. And release it. Walk the fingertips back, lean back into the hands. If you like, you can come up to a half boat pose or a full boat pose. Hands can be down or up, your choice. And switch your legs again. Now this time we're going to go ankle to knee. So take the right ankle across the left knee. This one, it may be that you will want that lower leg straight. And if you're going to have that lower leg straight, you want the bent knee to be as close into that leg as you can. Bring that a little farther over. Otherwise, if you can have it bent, have it bent. And we'll lean forward, just a light lean, maybe on those fingertips again, leaning forward, coming forward, and moving back and forth a little bit. And now take your left hand, plant it in front of the left knee. Take the right forearm under the knee. Once again, the forearm pulls the knee to your face, and your knee pushes the forearm away. So we have stretch, and that pushing of the knee is also strength. Strength in a stretched position. And release it. Take the hands, walk the hands back, lean back. And you can just lean the body back, or you can come into a half boat pose or a full boat pose and switch the legs. And once again, now the left ankle on the right knee. And if that lower knee if that's too much of a bend, you can have that leg be straight. Just bring that, actually, if you're going to do that, bring it so that your shin is sort of over that lower leg. And then lean forward until you begin to feel some sensation and take the body back and forth. And now take the left forearm under the knee. The knees pushing down, the forearms pulling up, and you feel that sensation back in the left hip. You do that with the leg straight or the leg bent. And release it. Bring the hands back one more time. Just a lean back if you like, half a boat pose or full boat pose, your choice. And then bring your feet down. And let's come onto knees and grab a block. You're going to want to have a block handy. Well, we're not using it just yet, but have it somewhere in arm's reach. And we're going to do this work today, still this strength in a stretch position, but a couple of poses where we're going to want to pay attention to the back body and the front body, and keeping this abdominal structure together, pulled together. So what do I mean by that? Let's take the right leg forward. So you're on the left knee. And of course, if you need to, you can fold your mat over for some extra padding, or put some extra padding under that left knee. Now, if we were going to go do a hip flexor stretch, and you can try it, just come on forward, feeling some stretch in the hip flexor. If you have a very mobile lower back, you'll see the pelvis tilt forward and the belly kind of splays forward, and it makes a nice, arched looking thing there. But you'll notice there's not a lot of stretch in the hip flexor, which is what we're trying to do. And we're dumping a lot of tension into the lower back. So to avoid that, I know Lizzie says to lengthen the tailbone, which is one way of doing that, is taking that tension out of the lower back. I would add to that to also bring your ribs in. Keep your ribs knitted in. So not letting them what would be the word? I don't know, just spill out. So bring those lower ribs in. They stay in. The pelvis stays a little bit tilted. And all of this keeps the natural curve in the low back without letting all that weight go there. So we pull this in, keep that long, and then place your hands on the front knee, keeping this all together. Let the weight come forward. There. Then we have a really efficient beginning of a stretch in the hip flexor. Because there's no bending here, it has to bend, it has to stretch here. And come back up one more time. One more adjustment to make this really efficient and effective. And that is, take that back foot and press it, the whole shin and the top of the foot, down onto the ground as if you're pressing through the floor. Okay, so as if it's just going to go underneath the floor, keeping the ribs knit in, tailbone lengthened, and now we come forward, and it might not take much, and you'll feel that stretch in the hip flexor, pressing down with that shin and foot. And here we have strength in a stretched position. Very efficient, modern yoga technique. And come back one more time, make all your adjustments, get everything back together. Inhale, exhale, engaging that hip flexor. Come back and grab your block and take your block to the bent knee side. So it's over to the right-hand side. You can have it, here, I'll turn this way so you can see me. You can have it very close into your body. Take the left arm up and begin to bend over. So we're stretching all along the side. And you can explore with moving that block a little farther out, maybe even farther out. If you have a lot of mobility, you don't even need a block. And feel that stretch from the tip of the fingers across the back of the arm, the shoulder, the rib cage, the front of the hip flexor, across the front of the thigh. Inhale back up. Exhale the arm down. Inhale the arm up. Place your block where you like. Exhale and take it up high and over. And breathe. Inhale. Exhale back up. And switch legs. Come back to both knees. Move your block to the other side. And we're going to take the left, I'll go this way. Left leg forward, so it's the other leg in front. And I like to tap that back leg, knowing that I'm going to let it engage. But before I really super engage it, let's do it passively, just to feel the difference. So go ahead and lean the body forward. Just let it get heavy, let the hips get heavy. And this passive stretch is also good. It has its benefits for sure. But it is passive. It's not working on strength. It's really just working on mobility. And so come back up. And now make sure that that tailbone is lengthening, that the ribs are knit in, that this whole part of the body stays pulled in together. Feel that top of that back foot, like you don't have to hit it like I'm hitting it. I'm hitting it to try and make a point. But imagine it pushing through, almost through the floor. And then inhale, exhale, and let the body come forward, holding the ribs in. There is the stretch across the front of the hip. Doesn't take a lot of movement to feel, you don't have to go very far for that to engage. Pressing your shin down on the floor. Strength in a stretched position, which is how I think of the whole high holiday season. We're looking for strength in a stretched position. And bring it back up. Make any readjustments that you need. Inhale, exhale, engage the shin, release the hip flexor. Exhale, bring it back up and grab your block. So the block goes on the opposite side of the hip flexor we just worked. So you're going to put your block on the left side, and I'll face you again so you can see. You can have this block very close into you. Okay, you can have that very close into you. Raise the other hand up, stretch it up and up and up, and begin to do a little bit of a side bend. Now you can have the block out farther if there's more room. And feeling the stretch all the way coming from the knee, across the front of the thigh, across the front of the hip flexor, into the side body, across the rib cage, across the shoulder, the back of the arm, up to the tip of the fingers. And release it. And if your block is out there, bring it back in, and let's try it one more time. Raise the hand up, pressing both feet into the floor, pressing that front foot into the floor, back shin into the floor, arm up, up, up till you have to go over, and then place your block wherever works for you. And exhale back. And go ahead and bring that other knee down. And let's come to all fours and just take the hips back and circle the upper body. And take that circle in the other direction. How are we doing? Okay. And come on up to your feet. So do just a little bit of standing pose. Have your feet apart, toes facing forward. Bend the knees slightly. And now feel yourself pushing into the floor. Pushing into the floor. And then begin to straighten the leg. And even that is strength in a stretched position. The back of the legs are stretched. We're pushing in and engaging the muscles. Now take your right foot and turn it parallel to the long side of the mat. You might want to scooch it forward a little bit. We're coming into warrior two, pressing the feet into the floor. I'll take my hands up and over. You can put your hands wherever you like. I like them out like this. I'm pushing my feet into the floor and bending that front knee, stretching that inner thigh, pressing my feet into the floor, strength in a stretched position. And if you like, you can have your hands bent and maybe take the elbows away from each other, feeling a little bit of a stretch across the front body. Away, together, away, together, away, together. And pressing into the right foot, straighten that leg, turn the foot in, take the left foot and turn it out, parallel to the long side of the mat. Press your feet into the floor, bend the knees, press. Bend the knees, press. With that press, we get strength in a stretched position. Simple as that. And then go ahead and take your arms on out all the way, or in cactus arms, your choice. And allow that front knee to bend, begin to bend any amount. It can be just as little as this. It can be just a small amount, or it can be more, or it can be to 90 degrees. Your choice, your body, your practice today. Pressing the feet into the floor as we are stretching. And again, you can have the cactus arms, take your elbows away from each other, feeling a little stretch in the shoulders. Or if you like, you can take your hands behind your back and straighten them out. Still pressing those feet into the floor. And exhale, straighten. Turn both feet forward. Bend and straighten, bend and straighten. Do it easy. And now press the feet into the floor and do it with strength. Bend and straighten. And go ahead and bring your feet together. And we're going to do one more thing. Come on down to your mat. Lay back, knees are bent, Take a breath and exhale. Audible sigh. Inhale. Audible sigh. Feel the work you've been doing. Let the skin over the heart be soft. Feel it just spreading, melting across the chest. Keep that softness and feel your feet on the ground. Press your feet into the ground and pick your hips up any amount. It can be a very low back bend, be a higher back bend. But when you've reached whatever back bend you like, bring your attention back to the heart space and let that be soft without falling, but just soft. Softness in a strong position. And release the hips down. Bring the right knee into the chest. Place the foot down. Bring the left knee into the chest. Place the foot down. And go ahead and lengthen your legs out. If you'd like to have that blanket back under your shoulders, under your armpits, that would be fine. But we'll go ahead and find our resting pose. Shavasana. And breathe. As Kashira wrote, we give ourselves to these tasks, give ourselves. Giving ourselves to these tasks moves our hearts to be tenderized. And if we can stay present and deepen into the work, our hearts will be strengthened in turn. Just rest. Let the floor hold you. With the eyes of your heart, visit all the parts of your body that worked today, that engaged today. And then begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, bringing life back into them. Place one foot on the floor, the other foot on the floor, and roll to your left or right with that bottom arm pillowing the head. Take a breath on your side. And then lean the body forward. Place that upper hand on the ground. Press yourself up to a sitting position. Inhale, exhale, one more time, and take the arms wide to the side. Inhale up. Exhale the arms down. If you like, bring your thumbs together and to the sternum. Be'orcha nir'eh or. The light in me sees the light in you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today.